Hello, seekers of Jesus. This is session 16. The book is the Bible, the Lexo Divina. I am Romuald Simeone, talking about how the Lord leads me in Lexo Divina, but giving you the Gospel of John, chapter 6, and the aftermath of the great debate. You know, after I finished did the last session, I felt so down and almost depressed, thinking of the last words of Jesus Christ, where he says to the apostles in the aftermath of the debate, the Bethsaidans have left him, the elders of the great temple there, the yeshiva school at Capernaum have rejected him and said, it's too hard, his teaching is too hard. Now they think they understand, but they say, we don't understand, it's too hard, we can't swallow it. You want to give us your blood and your body as bread and food for us in the desert, in this world? And we're talking about comparing you to Moses, who gave us bread in the desert for 40 years, and we believe in him. And you're asking us to believe in you. The price we have to pay is a coin of personal belief and commitment. So not only did they reject him, but when Jesus says these very sad words, almost made me cry. Tears came to my eyes. Will you also go away to the 12? And in front of him is one of them who's ready to go away. Jesus is going to hang on to him and try to convince him more and more that I'm not going to give up what the Father puts in my hand. You came as a disciple. You gave a word. I'm going to let you stick to your word until you make a final decision. It's going to take almost 3 years, but Jesus never gives up. He came to bring us home. He came to come to the airing, and he doesn't give up on us as long as we have breath to live, as long as we have an ability to change our minds, to change our hearts, to stop looking at the world and at ourselves in a physical way, blind way, and see with his eyes. He wants to give us his eyes and his heart. That is why he says, feed on me. Feed on me. In a way, what he's saying to the Bethsaidans, you're not asking for enough. You're asking me to feed you day by day. I'm going to give you more, not less. But they couldn't see it. So I also call this the fourth lesson to the apostles. You can't lose. Human failure is not loss. Is not loss. Jesus cannot lose. If we're without him, we can lose. If we're on the other side, we can lose. Because the so-called winners of the debate, the majority, lost. They lost their Messiah. Jesus is not going to give up on them. He's going to persevere. He's going to give his all. And that body and blood himself is available to each person. To each person. He doesn't give up, and he doesn't give in. That's what the crucifix shows. That's what the cross is. Do not give up and do not give in. That's the sign of victory. So, let's see what happens here. What was the trouble in the debate? Let's give an aftermath and analyze the debate a little bit. First of all, the goal. The persons who are on the other side, Messians and Jews, they're looking at the world. They're defending the world. They even think they're defending the law of Moses. They think they're defending Moses. They're defending the prophets against the Messiah, who is fulfilling the prophets. They're talking two different languages. It's Babel against the Spirit. We have to talk spirit language. Jesus talks spirit language. I speak the words of my Father. My Father is not Babel. My Father doesn't say one way and another. He doesn't have all this ridiculous analysis that tries to reach human goals. He has only one goal. You are my children, and I send my Son to bring you home. I'm the Father. You are the confused. I give you solution. You give me illusion. So, it's a real important thing in any debate. To have a true debate and a true dialogue, you have to be speaking the same language, same perspective, a different view, a different diversity, but at least be on the same page. We have to get onto the same page with Jesus. The page is the Gospel of John. You know, even children can understand language without the words and confusion. People say, understand? The great leaders of the synagogue couldn't understand. You see, we don't understand. We can't swallow it. A child can. He doesn't need words. He knows what commitment is. He knows what love is. He knows a lot. He knows things he can't put into words until maybe many years of education or study. But he knows when he hears with his heart. The child knows. They do hear with their hearts before they hear with their ears. They do see with eyes of belief and trust before they analyze with the eyes of a human being that sees non-commitment and selfishness, even in parents. So, we have to understand what Jesus is saying. He is a sign of contradiction. Keep that in mind. He is a sign of contradiction. Why? Because the world itself is in reverse. That's the problem. When the Jews are praying for the Messiah to come and set everything straight, what do they mean? Things are not straight the way you're looking at it. All around us, things are not straight. There's confusion everywhere because Satan has made it a place of confusion. He's the person in reverse. He's always driving in reverse. He's going backwards all the time. He sticks to the world in reverse and wants it to stay in reverse. And every time we begin to come to the Lord and to understand what Jesus is saying, he says, I'm going to reverse the world. I'm going to answer your prayer. Your prayer is, Lord, things are going wrong. Make them right. And that's what he does. When the Messiah comes, he'll make all things right. He has to reverse what humans cannot seem to reverse, because they're always going back into the 7 capital sins. They say one thing, they'll wave and praise God and go back to pride of saying, oh yeah, I told God what to do, but he didn't do it. If you can see God, you see he always does it. And he always does it right. And when we come into union with him, things do go right. We have to use the language of the Spirit. The Spirit, even our prayers that go to God, we say stupid things to God. Lord, do this, do that. I want you to do that, and then I'll believe that you're there. Oh yeah, I believe you're in my life because you answer my prayers, and you come through for what I want you to do. Other persons get depressed because they're thinking, God doesn't answer my prayers. The truth is, God answers every prayer that is a prayer. A prayer is respect of God to do his will and to do it as best we know. And even when we falter, he'll forgive us and pick us up again. So let us say, what is he doing? The Messiah comes, and he's coming to bring us home. Bring us home? I'm home. I'm comfortable. I'm prosperous. I'm happy. Everything is going well with me. You're not home. If you're not completely in the Lord, you are not home. He is the home. He doesn't have mansions up in heaven waiting for you. He is the mansion. He is the mansion. Heaven is the mansion. Eternity is the mansion. And he says, the first lesson in the debate, I am the bread from heaven. I'm the true bread. I'm not just bread that comes into your body and keeps you going until you die. You're not going to die. This bread I give is the bread of life, and life is life. You have a living God, and he wants you to join him, and he gives you a gift. There's no way you can do it. So, I come to take you home. This is not your true home. It's a home for the animals. It's a home for the dinosaurs. It's the home for vegetation. It's home for everything. But it's not your home. In a way, it's the home of Satan, because he can only operate in the temporary. So what is the Lord saying? And give us a true lesson. A marvelous thing that even you understand in the human way. Your family. God is your Father. I am Son of God. And I'm also the Son of Man. I came because you don't seem to understand. And I'm here to bring you home. You don't seem to know the way. I am the way. I'll show you. You can't make it, you're crippled, I'll carry you. Let's look into this concept a bit, because we have to talk in human terms as well as in biblical. Family. Every time I think of the word family, I go back to some scholarly explanation, and I get 3 words that maybe it's not enough, but I get 3 words from that. And family, famis, F-A-M-I-S, hunger. It nourishes our hunger. It satisfies our hunger. Hunger when we're incapable of fending for ourselves. Fama, reputation, fame, acceptance. Acceptance. Not in human way, agreement, but agreement with God. But it's so hard to get agreement between people. Our possessions are way out there. There are so many different avenues, so many different roads, so many different divisions, and we say, in fact, we have proclaim it to it. Says, oh, if you're open-minded, you have to have a lot of diversity. Well, that means you bring in everything. It's like bringing in every insect into your life and say, well, some of them bite, some of them don't, some of them are beneficial, some are not. Confusion. But we claim diversity as a marvelous quality to have. But fame, being accepted. We have to go through so many things to get so many titles. When we come from the hands of God, we have no titles. The only title we have that counts for anything is the reality. A child of God. My soul came from God. My body came from God in other devious ways and other avenues that He established. He established reproduction. He established sex and human family. But the area that He does not give to the others is the soul. He does it directly. It can only come from Him because only spirit can make spirit. Apply that in a way. Persons come and they talk about, they call it abortion, giving themselves a fancy word. I refuse to use that word. It's murder. Not abortion. It's murder. Abortion is something that comes natural and you can't help about it. There's no personal will involved in it. But murder, there is. Thou shalt not kill. And the interesting thing is, when we ultimately come to it and talk to pro-lifers, they cannot kill the the soul. Yes, they kill the body. The soul is spirit. It goes back to the spirit who protects it. It's there waiting. It's there waiting. It's nameless in here, but God gave it a name. And that name remains, and that name is attached to your name. So, let's go to the words. Families, the third word. Famis, fama, and families. Families means to serve, a servant. If you're in family, you have relationship. We're with Jesus in family, and he says we're family with him. We have to have a direct relationship. Not a tangential relationship, a personal relationship. Personal. Relationship is personal. The more personal it is, the closer it is. The more we separate, separation is not relationship. It's the opposite. To say, oh, we love each other, we're friends, or we're family, but we're separate. Well, there's some application to that, if psychological, and if it's moral, can't be. There's unity in morality. Those are points of unity. Whatever points that are connected to God are always points of unity. Always points of unity. Love is a point of unity. And the greatest point of unity that we have in the world is the Son of God, who shows us every point of unity. So what does he show us about the hunger? Yes. I will give you the bread of life. I will give you. About all the other things that that the Lord has given you in human nature, I'm giving it to you in the spiritual nature and directly. One that solves every other desire, every other that is satisfying in every other way. And once you have that, don't worry about the birds of the air that are being fed by God. Don't worry about it. Have no great concern for that. See, every teaching of Jesus is connected to the other, and it's always connected to the fact of his messianity, Son of God, unity with God, and reality. That is the ultimate reality. The essence of reality is God. He is the essence. We are the shadows. We are the reflections. So he's telling us, get back, I'm bringing you back to the realities. And if you're back to the reality, it will be eternal. Because I am eternal. You're going to participate in me. There's no way you can do it. There's no way you can do it. Alone? So, when people turn away from the Lord, like the Bethsaidans and the people from Capernaum, that's their loss. They lost the debate. And the ones who remain with Jesus win. Peter, who said, "Where will we go, Lord? You have the words of wisdom and life. Where can we go without you?" He says, Peter, you're saying more than you even realize yourself. the Father has given it to you. There is nowhere, because you cannot go into the land of reversal. The world that I am giving you is the world that reverses the human world that left God. Yes, Jesus feeds us day by day. He feeds our spirit without let up, because his food is eternal. His body is eternal. His blood is eternal. It brings us to eternity, because it's not human body and blood. It is God's Spirit. He's the Son of God. And whatever you see with your eyes and do not see with your spirit, the eyes of Jesus, is if you see him only in as a human way and do not see who he is actually. He's only one person. He's only one person. And unless you see the person, you don't even see your companion. It's not the things that we do in nature that are the real person. We have, that's a little confusing, that concept, but he's talking about doing now, commitment. But do the right things. Do the things that are moral. And this is no illusion. So, if you are a servant of the other, you are in the giving mode. You're in a giving mode. And you cannot give what you have not received. And it's useless to give people anything that you have received that is not of God. Hatred is not of God. Viciousness is not of God. Vices are not of God. Selfishness that focuses only on self and on human endeavors is not of God. To empty oneself has meaning. You empty yourself of the worldliness. It's a lifelong job. It's not that I'm saying it. I'm in the same boat you were in. I've got my worldliness too. In the book of life, there's all the negative marks. It's not proclaiming who I am. I am not your God. I'm only a voice crying in the wilderness. But Jesus is not a voice crying in the wilderness. The world is a desert. The world is a desert. It does not satisfy. It does not give what it doesn't take. It gives with one hand and takes away with the other. And if even piles up all of its gifts, its material and sensual gifts, in the end, it takes it away too. So, emptiness is what this world is. Emptiness. You don't see it as a desert, but Jesus is telling his apostles, you know what I'm doing for you? I'm going to join you to myself and make you not just co-shepherds, but like co-messiahs. because you're going to see and be in a world of contradiction. Yes, those that have vocations, those that are being called by God, also are hearing the calls of the world. We hear both calls. We have to make a decision. The decision can't be made unless we see with Jesus' eyes and hear with our hearts that are His heart. Those are thoughts to ponder on. So when Jesus is leading us into witness for Him and with Him, not for Him, with Him, in Him, through Him, we have to see this too. We ourselves will be voices calling in the wilderness. John the Baptist said it well. He's that ultimate prophet of prophets, not of human prophets. The greatest of the prophets, because he says it right. Yes, we call out into the desert. Who will hear the voice? The one who hears in the language of the Spirit, who can see Jesus, who can see who He is, and latch onto Him. Latch onto Him. Don't give up and don't give in. He's the only one who can take us home. We can't go home without Him. We don't know the way. We don't have the light. We walk in darkness. We stumble. All little scandalous things stand in our way. Little stones and pebbles. They're not even big, but they're enough to make us stumble and fall. There are signs everywhere that show us other ways. They're called devices. Misleading. They lead and point the wrong way. So, realize this in this lesson, where Jesus, who seems to be, don't have to cry for Him. Don't cry for Jesus. I cry for Him because I'm human. And I see what seems to go wrong, what goes wrong within myself. We have a lot of experiences, and when we have experiences, and they write the book of life, and you write your book of life, chapter by chapter, decades by decade. What happened when you were 10? What happened when you were 20? What happened when you were 30? What happened now that you're 40 and 50 and you're ready to go out and to do things? Then beginning to tone down when you're 60s and 70s and all. Doesn't matter the extent that you have. Do it while you have time. Do it while there is light. When the light comes down, there's no more time to do it. Then we have the results, the aftermath. No. We keep thinking about how things go wrong in the world, and it's a topsy-turvy world, and even the solutions are new problems. With Jesus, a solution is a solution, and if you stick with the solution, there are no problems. Put your hand in the hand of the man who stilled the waters. He is always light. His hand is always out. Ours are not. So, it's not Jesus that's in revolt. He's revolting against things that are revolting. Therefore, the two negatives make a positive. And that is what we have to understand. So the aftermath of chapter 6, Jesus is not going to give up. He doesn't want the apostles to give up. They have to be connected to him, and he works hard to get everyone connected to him, to get on the right road. And so now he is going to go to Jerusalem and continue his identity progress and process. He is going to reach out in every way and utilize the circumstances that he sees. And that's what you do when you witness. You go with an agenda, but you don't. It's not a finger-pointing agenda. It's not a rejecting agenda. It's an open-handed agenda to bring someone back, to bring someone to at least where you are in the Lord, if you are in the Lord. To at least let them know where the answer is. And also know, in true humility, that the answer ultimately is not in you. It's not your words. It's the word of Jesus. It's his spirit they have to see. His image they have to see. If they look in your face and say, "Oh, gee, I never met anyone like you," well, that's sad. I think it's sad if anyone says that to me. That's pretty sad if you never met anyone like me. Boy, your trip has been pretty empty. I've met persons who are not like me and were better than me. People that I had to admire. It's like people are impressed, you know, if you say, "Well, I knew Mother Teresa," which is true, I did, in Calcutta. And also saw her through India and saw what was happening to her when she was being called an ex-nun. Sometimes by people who were, I won't say like Pharisees, but somewhere in that area, who were presented themselves as knowing it all, until the Pope accepted her. But Jesus never rejected her. Remember that. Jesus never rejected her. She was always on the right path. Yes, I've met very holy people, so I can really say from experience, if you say, "I never met anyone like you," and that's considered a compliment, well, I better take it with a barrel of salt. Just trying. Just one of those peons who loves his Lord and who tries to continue loving him and who proclaims him. Remember, we are all family because God is our Father. The Son of God came and he said it. It's not me saying it, he said it. I come to bring you home. That's the way to read the gospel. That's the way you see it. So let's not worry about how Jesus is being put aside or he loses a debate, stick with him. Will you also go? Lord, am I on the right road? I often think of the saints, how they had it straight. And one of them was John Bosco. And he says, when the Lord reaches out to you and he gives you a way, don't look for another one. If you reverse it, you may very well be on the wrong way. Remember, we're here to come to reverse the world with Jesus, because the world is in reversal. Everyone talks about going forward. And every time the ones that most proclaim going forward seem to be going backward. If they're going backward against Jesus, what? Do you think they're going forward? When the only name you cannot declare in a public square is Jesus. Jesus is Lord. You can talk about anybody else in the school system. You can proclaim anything else. It's only their diversity. But don't say the word Jesus. Don't say the word Christ. Don't say the word God. I say it. I will say it. And I'll say it with my life. Lord, help me. Lord, help me. That I keep my word. Brothers and sisters, we'll continue now from chapter 5 next, where Jesus goes to witness again. Doesn't give up. He goes right into the lion's den, into Jerusalem. Go to the temple. Go among those who are in reversal, because he's never going to give up. He'd never give in. And those that are in confusion, he's going to unconfuse. In Jesus' name, pray for me. We're all family. God bless.